Welcome back to another NCUT movie review, and today we have The Odyssey. I did not know Matt Groening was going to go in this direction with Homer. It's unbelievable.
Hey man, wrong Homer.
Just as impactful though.
Alright, jokes aside, the film is based on an epic poem written by Homer, the ancient Greek poet, not the guy from Springfield, which was directed by Christopher Nolan, which follows the life of the titular character Odysseus, played by Matt Damon, who devises that infamous plan of the Trojan horse trick, which causes the downfall of not only the city of Troy, but morality as they knew it. And from there, we navigate the treacherous Mediterranean Sea, hopping from island to monster-infested island as the mythological creatures decimate his fleet. There's a brutal, chaotic saga that picks right up after the fall of Troy and tracks the grueling 20 years of the journey back home to Ithaca, which includes a bunch of side plots, which is exactly what we're about to get into.
Yeah, and that's why this movie's got a little bit of a different take to Troy, which is probably the most popular iteration of this movie that's been done previously. 2004, Brad Pitt as Achilles, Eric Bana as Hector, Orlando Bloom as Paris. Now, that movie is more about the Siege of Troy, where this movie takes place after the Siege of Troy, which for some people coming into the movie might have been a little bit disappointing, because I really would have loved to have seen Benny Safdie's Agamemnon sacking Troy, because the first time you see this man, I mean, we are talking the coolest looking armor you've ever seen in your life, I swear. The aura farming that this man did on the screen, barely any lines in this film whatsoever. He's just standing there menacingly.
Yeah.
Cut that in.
He's just standing there, menacingly. Get out of there, SpongeBob!
I feel like he was underutilized in this movie, but the movie's not about him. So if you come away feeling like that, I just feel like that because he looked awesome. That armor, I want that in my house right now. I want to wear that every single day. Just the armor itself. Maybe not him, but the armor itself, seeing him in action, could have been shown more.
Yeah, if you own that type of armor, you'd probably get yourself into as many wars as you possibly can. Like, why would you just have it sitting around?
Show off. And seeing these mythological characters on the 70mm, I mean, it's just unbelievable when the Cyclops that we see in this movie is actually a puppet mixed in with CGI. I mean, who's doing that in this day and age? This is taking it to the next level of, I want to create something that people can get lost in and fall in love with. And he could have easily have had a shitty CGI'd Cyclops throughout the whole movie, but he wanted it to feel human. And he wanted each of these challenges or each of these islands or each of these stories to feel or mean something to you as the viewer. And I think you do, especially with something as simple as sticking the flame stick into the Cyclops' eye and then having the most harrowing sound and audio that I've ever heard in a movie.
I'm deaf.
Which really made me disorientated. That was probably one of my main gripes in the first hour of the movie, was that audio.
Yeah, I thought the first hour was so weird from Christmas. To me, this whole movie was trying to jump right into the action straight away. And the first hour didn't mean anything. For instance, when they were doing the ADR reshoots for Anne Hathaway and Tom Holland's character, that was so noticeable. I think those little mistakes is where I was like, he didn't care. He just wanted to move us into the storyline straight away. So the ADR was very noticeable through Tom Holland's character specifically. Yeah. And then also the Cyclops' character. It was so loud. Yeah. Like literally, I know it wasn't just the Cyclops yelling, it was also the music. If you see some music, you'll hear it really get to a crescendo, and then all of a sudden the pivot just drops down to the bottom of the ground. I don't know if he was like on DaVinci and they give you presets of -3, he preset it to -30, because that's what it felt like. It just was very high and then immediate silent. I was like, is this adding anything to the storytelling? Because that first hour was so choppy. Everything was get to this story of we're getting into his adventure now. And I've noticed that in the last movie, even with Ludwig Göransson, who composed this movie, the same thing with Oppenheimer. That was so loud and then nothing. So I've noticed it in the last couple of movies.
You feel that ears ringing moment where you're like, it's a huge action scene or huge scene happening and then silence, and you're like, oh, I can actually feel my ears. And
you have tinnitus, which is crazy because you hear that all the time.
And the ADR, which we know, or if you're a fan of Nolan, you know is one of his pet hates. He had to do it in this movie because the one downside of filming with the 70mm, loud as hell. I mean, you look at the camera, it looks like it's some futuristic thing that is out of this world, and then you see what goes into getting from the camera to the film to then making it into an actual movie, the drawing process, and you're like, okay. Now I understand why you had to break that non-negotiable. Fair enough.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also with the mythological creatures, that little cutscene from jumping from island to island to island, I didn't really feel enough of, like, unless you know the book, you don't know who these people are, but some of them are pretty like consequential to his travels, right? He goes to the first island, he meets the Cyclops, and then he rocks up to the second island, which is the Lastrygonians, which are man-eating humans. They're cannibals, but you don't see any of that. You just see a random kid who's 7 foot, and you're like, okay, well, this is LeBron James's kid.
And starts screaming once again, like with these noises or high-pitched sounds where you're like, oof, that's sort of like a shock.
Yeah,
like, what's happening right now?
And then there's an earthquake that randomly happens because it's so loud in the cinema. And then there's these 7, 8, 10-foot giants just running at him, having a massive fight, which take out a lot of his fleet. And then he has to run around to then go to a different island where he's cursed this whole time by the gods. He's by Poseidon specifically. If you don't know any of these things, you're just kind of lost, I guess, in the storytelling ability. But this is the brilliance of Christopher Nolan. You will understand it in the next hour of the film because he then goes and explains all of it, which is what helped, I think, my case for a lot of my criticisms here.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. You do feel at some points in the first hour and a half, you're like, okay, I'm a bit confused where we are, what's going on, but you get lost in the visuals of this movie. The 70mm on Anne Hathaway, on Tom Holland when they're having a dialogue scene, or on Odysseus when he's on the ship, looking out, seeing dolphins that weren't even meant to be in the film. That was just pure happenstance. Like, the movie looks stunning. All that confusion or even disorientation from some of the audio in the first hour, you're like, okay, but I'm still along for the ride because one, I trust Nolan, and two, first film ever shot completely on 70mm. And honestly, no one else can probably afford to do a full film on 70mm, both money and time, because you only get 2.5 minutes of footage.
And vision.
But it looks so stunning. And the only sort of downfall, which a few other people have mentioned, and might have noticed, we noticed it when we left the film, one of the first things we spoke about, is the field of view, especially when filming a dialogue scene between two characters. Because the 70mm is so clear and the focus has to be on what's right in front of it, the background is going to be blurred. If you were going back and watching one of a few other Nolan films like Dark Knight, like Tenet, like Inception, where it looks incredibly clear, and you go, okay, well, how come this doesn't look clear? It's the 70mm, and it can't take in what's in the foreground and in the background at the same time because it's too good.
Yeah, he just loves that shot though as well. Like when you get real close into a character, he gets right into your face just to give you that emotion, and you do feel that, especially on an IMAX screen. Jesus Christ.
Exactly. And now some of the characters in this film that are worth mentioning. Now, obviously, the cast list on this is just enormous. Who isn't in this movie? And if Nolan comes to you and says, "Hey, do you want a 15-second role in my movie?" you say yes. Now, Tom Holland coming into this movie, a lot of people probably would have thought, is he out of his depth? We literally watched a trailer of him as Spider-Man before this came on. And so as soon as the movie starts, you're in your mind, you're already thinking, Tom Holland? Like, this movie's supposed to be about some of the best strategists, in Odysseus with the Trojan horse, and then Tom Holland pops up and you're like, I just saw you as Spider-Man.
Yeah, literally.
And so I think he will suffer a little bit when people watch this movie and they can't quite take his acting as seriously as maybe somebody else's. But I think he still held his own in this movie, especially when you do research into the character that he was actually playing.
Yeah, because I had a massive issue with his character because I thought he was boring. Like, he didn't want to be there. That's how it felt when it came across the screen. But then when you do a little bit of research on his character, and Telemachus is a kid who has lost his father from an early age. He's tried to raise himself up to be the man his father was through stories, and he was also raised by John Leguizamo for a lot of it.
And he was great in this film, by the way. I mean, he was so underrated in this film.
And when he's raised by John Leguizamo, you're also thinking, okay, well, it's an older type of person, so he's going to have older values. And then he's thinking to himself, I got to be the man for my mother as well. So it actually is a good reason to why he was acting very stoic and kind of reserved a little bit. And I was like, is he just not acting? Is he just bored of being here? Is he too tired from the Spider-Man set that he swing in and then went right to the into character? But it wasn't. Like, when you look into it, it actually does serve the purpose of playing Telemachus.
And you also forget as well in this film, he's only 18 in this movie or thereabouts. So when you see him sort of acting as this whiny little, like, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? I mean, that's why. Even towards the end of the film, in the crescendo, the final moments, the final battle of the movie, you are like, come on, man, like, pull it together.
Yeah.
We're literally seeing 1500 AD Jason Bourne go to work, and you can't even get rid of Shingles?
Literally.
Jangles over there with the bells? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, weak. And I mean, you have literally a fighting scene and a training scene with Ryan Hurst in the very front opening of this movie. So why isn't he better by the end of the movie? I would expect him to have some goddamn warrior ability or something from his dad. Maybe it's genetic. But then when you look at also the scene of Odysseus has a dog and it dies, and he only dies when he comes back to the island, and he finally dies, and his son recognizes that's his dad. That's when the emotion kicked in. I was like, fuck, I do feel something here.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think that this movie does make you do, is feel. And that's a whole idea with storytelling. And obviously he's got a massive amount to work with through Homer's book, but I think Christopher Nolan did it great and did it well. And you said before, talking about somebody who's a little bit whiny, my favorite actor, Robert Pattinson. This man, get the shields, get the swords.
He was great in this movie up until the last 15 minutes where he turns into a sniveling little bastard and then he's in the corner just, get the swords, get the shields.
You dirty plate licker.
Get that. And I'm like, where is any of this come from? Look, he's on a generational run at the moment. Some people had some issues with his accent. Some people had issues with the fact that he maybe didn't feel like he was in a fable like this. He was sort of just Pattinson. But I think he did incredible, and he can do it all. He can be the villain. He can be the main good guy. He can be the lovable buffoon.
Yeah.
He can be whatever you want. And that's what Nolan saw in him, and that's why he got him in this role. And I think him opposite Tom Holland was really, really good because they are so similar in terms of the way that they came up on the scene. Young, kid actors, probably, they're both English, friendly with each other. Like, it just, their chemistry and the way that they acted in this film, so opposites, worked, I thought, incredibly well. And him opposite Anne Hathaway trying to seduce her, loved it because you could feel the detest from Anne Hathaway of him and his assurance of himself as well.
He wasn't acting in that scene at all. He was just being our Pat.
Yeah.
And he was so convincing, he even convinced me, right? Like, if I was Penelope in that, I'd be like, you know what? Maybe I should move on. Yeah. It's been 2 decades. Who waits 2 decades anymore? No one waits even 2 hours these days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a great, he's a Machiavellian this basically at this point. One of his best scenes, I thought, was when it shows how much of a coward he is. I don't know how he turns on this ability to be, conniving and cunning, and then a bit of a flirtatious seducer, and then all of a sudden being like this, little prick, and then he changes to being the opposite, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know how this man can have so much range, which we don't use that word lightly around here in NCUT, and he just delivers anything on screen. I don't know how people are giving him that much criticism, to be honest with you. And I have a lot of criticism about the film. He ain't one.
Somebody get these beggars out of here!
And cinematography-wise, one shot that I know that Nolan's been just thinking about for 20 years is that Trojan horse in the middle of the sand. Yeah. And I thought, that scene specifically, when he lets you just sit there and watch them battle like survival, lasting in a Trojan horse for 3 or 4 days, shitting on each other, pissing on each other. There's nothing to do. There's no mobile phones. There's no Google Maps. There's no, Pornhub. You can't do anything there. Yeah. But then, and people are dying at the bottom of the horse. It's like, this is what you're risking your life for. Yeah. That was such a really intimate scene. That was actually, I think, to me, my favorite scene of this whole that whole movie. The storytelling in that scene. And the whole concept. And
the opening scene is Elliot Page running up sort of like who everyone thought coming into the film was going to be Achilles. So the moment you see him running, you're like, that's not Achilles. And you just knew. Was it a rage bait from Nolan? Who knows? Got the people talking. Probably. That works. And then just you think, oh, what's about that? Boom. Spear. And you're just like, whoa, here we go. We're in this movie. And I thought that was, from then on, I was along for the ride. And look, there might have been some little things here and there that weren't good. The light just went out, so fuck my life. There might have been a few little things here and there that weren't good, but as a journey, as a movie, as a reason why you go to the cinema, this is it.
Yeah, his marketing to it was really interesting too, because Nolan's marketing. So this is what he does. I'll tell you a little concept of what Nolan does, if you can, listen for 5 seconds. He used to give those little pins out that Penelope gave to Odysseus, the Athena pin, because he is favored by Athena, and they all had different numbers on them. One of the guys who got the pin looked through some longitude latitude codes, found out that it was a link to a Discord site, and it had the Odyssey Discord site. He was the first person to get into there, and the whole idea was Nolan does these little fun, little almost escape room games, these little riddles to get you interested into the movies. So you can see how deeply he thinks about certain marketing aspects. That's why I think when he cast Elliot Page and left the name blank and everyone just assumed what it was, and he cast Lou Peter and stuff, where that got a lot of backlash. I think that was all rage bait to get you to go watch the movie, because if you watch the movie, you understand how minimal any of that is, because they're on the screen for 30 seconds.
It's all just noise.
Is it really that big of an issue to then be like, well, that fell? Is it really that big of an issue to think this needs to be the main crux of the movie? It actually doesn't do anything for it. Yeah. Literally, it has no weight or bearing on the film at all. So I thought, if that is a marketing tactic, he's a genius. Yeah. He's a fucking genius, dude.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't need to market anything, though, Nolan. You're going to see his movies whether that marketing's there or not. And I think there's only a few directors in the world, or even actors in the world, that have that title to them that I'm just going to go see it because he's done it. But he's that one. He's that one. Yeah. That's why it made $280 million in the first week. And in the first weekend, because if this movie had got flamed and everyone was saying it's the worst movie of all time, guess what? People still would have gone and seen it.
Still would have made 250 million.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because he's just that man.
He is. It's just that good. When you have a filmography as big as his, and what's everything like, the lowest thing I think on there might be Interstellar at 70% or something like that, which is ridiculous, by the way.
Right.
But I think something might be lower. Don't quote me on that. But look at his whole filmography.
Yeah.
It's literally incredible. Why
Banger
wouldn't
after
you do
banger.
it? What can we give this movie overall? When we need to rate this on a scale, it's a 10 because it's Christopher Nolan. Seriously, it is. It's not even his best movie, I don't think, and it's still a 10. So what does that say?
And that's like always something you got to be careful of with, especially someone like Nolan or any of these big actors, directors. You come in already thinking, oh, this is going to be the 10, or this is going to be like the greatest thing ever, and it can lead you to go down a path where that's not true, or it can lead to disappointment. But in this case, it's true.
Yeah, it is true. It's really good.
It's true. Why doubt the man?
Watch it as Christopher Nolan intended on your Apple Watch. If you guys enjoy this type of reviews, don't forget to click right here. Peace, we out.
Peace.
And cut.